In 1946, we are shown the kingdom of Sudan Valley, where there was a landowner named Banidhara. He was a big fan of art, so he learned about a magical mirror from a painter, which was made by a tantric, and at that time, that mirror was. But when the British came to know about this mirror, they invaded Burma and seized the mirror as if the Tamil people living in Burma had been evicted from their ancestral land. As soon as Banidhara heard this news, he became anxious to get that mirror. Basically, there was a bidding. Despite the huge bidding, Banidhara got the mirror. Because he had no shortage of money. However, the special features of this mirror have not been revealed yet. However, there must be some mystery hidden in it. The scene moves to 2018, where we see some painters painting a hostel room. One of them said that he will work from here, as if the rest of them leave. And after the rest of them leave, he starts drinking there. He even calls his girlfriend and asks her to come there. He also threatens her that if she doesn't come, then he will leak the SMSs that he has. So he enters room number 103. And as soon as he enters, strange things start happening to him. He also starts screaming. After a while, his girlfriend also comes. But when she comes, she sees the painter hanging. But surprisingly, he was still alive. There was a little movement. Then the scene changes. We are shown an art and craft college, where the teacher is the principal and a boy named Magiz, who is basically painting on the wall. And one of his friends is showing this everything to the people on live. Meanwhile, a girl named Jasmine was watching this whole thing sitting in her office. Just then, one of her friends came to tell her that Jasmine's name was selected for Amsterdam Wildlife Photography, and she was very happy after hearing this. Then we see Magiz again. The warden of the hostel called Magiz. Actually, Magiz had informed the principal that this warden drinks alcohol during work. Due to this, the warden got angry and asked him to vacate the room and shift to another room. Magiz also gave him the key of a room. What else could Magiz do? There is nothing. He has to go up to that room. But the shocking thing is that this room is room number 103, where someone died at the beginning. I mean that painter. The room is in a very dirty condition. Magiz sees a statue under a tree outside the window. Then they start cleaning the room. At that time, Magiz found a shirt button in the closet. And as soon as he picked it up, his hand suddenly got stuck in the window. It was as if someone from outside had deliberately hit his hand with the window. So, at night, Magiz called home and learned that his father had had a small accident. However, his mother told him to stay calm for now, because the accident was very minor. Meanwhile, inside the room, Magiz's friend Rakesh was busy with a romantic video call with his girlfriend. Magiz then went to another room, and while standing by the window, he saw an old man outside the window and was completely stuck, because the old man's face was really scary. The scene went on the next day. Jasmine came to that college and told the principal that she wanted to shoot for a YouTube documentary here. After knowing everything, the principal gave Jasmine permission. And Jasmine also says that it will take her 5 to 7 days to shoot. Jasmine also tells her that she wants to meet Magiz. Because Magiz's work has impressed her a lot, Jasmine also meets Magiz. And Magiz tells everything about herself, that since childhood, she has been interested in these things. Just then Jasmine reveals a big thing to Magiz, that she is actually Magiz's childhood friend. It means that she is their first love in a way. To put it simply, the two childhood lovers are reunited after a long time, because of which they are both very happy. So then the scene changes. Jasmine She asks the principal about this college. She also wants to know if there is such a thing as reincarnation. Is it true at all? The principal says yes, reincarnation definitely happens. There are many people who can even remember their previous births. A person can be anything in reincarnation. It can be a boy, a girl, even an animal. And if he is reborn as a human, his appearance is different. But he may have some memories of his previous life. Then we are shown Rakesh smoking a cigarette a little distance from the hostel. Suddenly he starts screaming. Because the birds were calling so loudly that he could not bear it. In another scene we see Jasmine standing in front of the same statue that Magiz saw first. She calls Magiz there too. It is night time. Jasmine was telling Magiz that she felt like this he had seen the statue somewhere before. But he couldn't remember where exactly he had seen it. Meanwhile, the hostel warden had gone out on his rounds. A friend of Magiz also called him for this. However, just as Magiz started walking towards the hostel, the warden stopped him and asked him to go to the principal first. Because Magiz had had a problem with that warden before. As if Magiz had to stand outside. And at that time he saw the same old man on the jasmine tree. He told Magiz about it. Magiz was going there for this reason. Just then he saw Rakesh hanging himself. But he quickly fell down himself. By the time he reached him, it was too late. But just then Magiz looked away. We also see Rakesh's eyes moving slightly. So the next day the police came and questioned everyone about this incident. Here, Rakesh's death is basically taken as a bribe. But Jasmine meets Magiz and asks Magiz why Rakesh did this, but Magiz has no idea about it. Jasmine then shows Magiz a newspaper, in which there was news of the painter's death. I mean, in this very room, room number 103, which we seen at the beginning of the movie. Magiz says that there must be something wrong in that room, because when she and Rakesh were there, they were feeling something strange from the beginning. Magiz tells Jasmine about the whole incident. I mean, everything that happened to them. Then Magiz goes to the warden and tells him to change his room. Because he doesn't feel safe at all in this room. But in anger, the warden slaps him upside the head. Magiz then puts a note outside the room with "Do not enter" written on it. So that no one else enters and no one else dies. Then Magiz and Jasmine go to the library together. They were basically trying to find information there. And after searching through newspapers there, they found out that at that time the case was closed after the death of the painter as a suicide. After that, no news was published. So they started looking for older newspapers. However, when Magiz was looking for a selfie, just then a book fell from above. And inside that book, he saw a picture of a butterfly. Rakesh Janan was committing suicide with exactly the same butterfly. He had also seen a butterfly exactly the same. That's why they opened that book and started reading. And inside this book, there was a picture of the same statue, which was behind Maiden's room. That means Jasmine also saw the statue, so they started reading the book. This book was written by a writer and painter named Urjavan. Basically in this book he wrote about the biography of Banidhara. And according to this book, Urjavan himself was also a writer and painter. What is known from this book? That in 1952, after independence, the government introduced a law for which the right to rule over the people was taken away from all the landlords. Banidhara was also a landlord who was a big fan of art and antiques. But he did not give up his torture. He behaved very badly with women. He could not look at women at all. He would snatch their belongings, jewelry, everything. From everyone, rich and poor. Here we are shown a scene where he is torturing a woman and removing his nosepin from her nose. Basically, Banidhara used to collect all these things that he felt a strange pleasure when he touched them, meaning he was a kind of psychopath. From the beginning, Urjavan thought that Banidhara was a good person, but when he started living with her and slowly started learning or seeing everything about Banidhara's life, he realized that inside her. He also came to know that Banidhara is actually an impotent man. And that is why he behaves like this with women. Because he feels a strange pleasure in it. One day, Urjavan goes to see Banidhara's art collections. There, a man stops him. But Banidhara had agreed to Urjavan's words. He came to see with permission. That is why that man lets him in. And before going inside, Urjavan asks him what is inside for which he does not let anyone in. The man then talked about that mirror, which was brought from Burma. By looking in this mirror, people can see their previous births and what they were like before. After hearing this, Urjavan got a little scared. Still, he went ahead to see everything. And at the last moment, he reached in front of the mirror, which was covered with a white cloth. So Urjavan was curious and removed the cloth. And then what he saw made him completely shocked. Inside the mirror, he saw his previous birth, where he was a leper. There were boils and sores all over his body. Seeing which he got very scared. And then we see that Banidhara has come to a pandit to show her horoscope. And there was such a fear in the pandit's mind that he was afraid to talk about Banidhara. But finally he gathers the courage to tell Banidhara that his lineage will not continue due to the curse of women. Even his adopted son has died. Banidhara then says that he knew all this in advance. He saw everything in his dream. He also understood that after his death, the government would take all his lands. But it is not a big deal for him. The real thing for him is that his name should live in the minds of people for hundreds of years. He asks the Pandit if there is any way to do this. The Pandit then tells him that if he really wants to do this, then there is a forest 50 kilometers away from here where there are people from a village who are trained in Bandi. In that village there is a holy girl named Murali who worships the goddess Kane. If Banidhara builds an art college in that village, then his name will live for many births in the future. That night, Boni was thinking about all this. Just then, a man from the village came. But since that man was of a low caste, he himself could not enter the village. He also told Boni that no outsider was allowed to enter the village. So Boni could not enter there either. Because there is a Malli in that village. Malli is so sacred that if she says it will rain, it rains, and if she says it will stop, it stops. She has a deep connection with nature. Even when her husband refused to take responsibility for their own child, Malli herself threw her husband out of the village. Then the man gave a shocking information that Banidhara's adopted son did not actually die in an accident. He had actually gone hunting in the forest. There, he killed a pregnant deer. But the deer gave birth to a calf before it died. When it died, he saw the whole incident. That is why the landlord caught the boy and tied him to a tree. And later he was eaten by a tiger. After knowing this, Banidhara got really angry. He made a plan to take revenge. Then we were shown a man in the forest, who was actually Malli's brother. He saw a butterfly. Basically, he was also a nature lover. And he had a special power. He could understand all the danger signals in advance. And these butterflies were basically a signal. That is, they gave a warning message of danger. So after seeing the butterfly, he went to the village and informed everyone that danger was coming for them. So the scene comes that it is time for the library to close in the present. That is why Magiz and Jasmine have to get out of there. So when Magiz returns to the college, He sees that statue outside the college, which is actually of Banidhara. Right then he also sees a butterfly. And while chasing that butterfly, he sees a terrifying scene when he reaches a well. He looked inside the well and saw his friend lying dead inside, who originally came from France. The police came and started investigating the incident. The police spoke to the principal. They think that the boy was probably intoxicated. That's why he might have slipped and fallen into the well. The principal also says that these boys used to eat intoxicating mushrooms, and the canteen boy used to supply it, for which he was already fired from his job. Even drugs were found in the boy's room. Again, the principal requested that this matter should not be covered by the media, because it could bring disrepute to his college. On the other hand, another friend of his comes near. He thinks that the boy may have committed suicide, because he met him the day before. At that time, the boy was behaving very strangely. His eyes were also completely red. But he remembered something and came back. And later he heard that the boy had died. So after hearing all this, Magiz goes to the principal and tells him that someone has done this in this room before. Then the principal says that he will tell the warden about this so that Magiz's room can be changed. So Magiz goes to another room. And room number 103 is locked. But Magiz's mind was still haunted by the story of Urs forest. That's why he calls Jasmine. They even decide that the next day they will go to the library again and read that book. That is, they will finish the story. So the next day they go to the library again. And there they find out that the person who told Malli about the danger, that is, the butterfly, that told them the matter was his brother Karmapali. Since Karmapali had a connection with nature, he could get a glimpse of the future by looking at the butterfly. He could tell the future. But only Malli believed him. And he also only listened to Malli. So then again our Banidhara is shown, along with the man who gave him all the information about Malli. His name is Mari. He is from Malli's village. But he took Bonnie's side out of greed. Bonnie went to confess a deer. And whenever he went to shoot, the deer ran away because of Malli's arrival. At that time, Bonnie saw Malli for the first time. He even decided to kill Malli, because Malli was like a deer to him. As I said before, he felt a strange pleasure in confessing women. But like that day, he left from there. And on the other hand, Murali was giving medicine to a small child. Just then the police arrive. The ones who were actually sent by Bonnie herself. The police tell Malli and everyone in the village to vacate the village and the forest. But they refuse to leave the village. Then a senior police officer comes there and gives them only 3 days, that if they do not leave the village within these 3 days, their situation will worsen. So Sin leaves at night. Karmavali and Malli were sitting and eating together. Just then Maria comes and tells Karmavali that elephants have entered the forest. And only Karmavali knows how to chase them away. Although she did not want to go. But Malli's request forced her to go. However, before leaving, she places her hand on Malli's stomach and says that Pali Devi is coming. Originally Malli used to worship the goddess Kane. And here she is called Pali Devi. But actually this was a trick of Banidhara. Whenever Karmavala goes away from home, just then Banidhara comes to Malli. And those 3 were marred Red Moon Night. Banidhara comes to Malli and tries to kill her. But Malli wants to attack her with a knife. But then Banidhara kicks Malli in the stomach. Beats her severely. And like before, she pulls her nose ring from her nose. And even grabs Malli's throat with her foot. Malli then says that she will come back again and finish her off that day. Then Banidhara kills Malli. Meanwhile, Karam says that he understands everything from the jungle. He returns home and finds that his sister is dead. After that, nothing was written in the book. That means Urjavan did not write anything after that. There could be two reasons for this: either he was killed or he himself stopped writing. That means that Jasmine is now thinking about it. So Jasmine has an idea. He wants to find out about Ursavan. Then he remembers that he had interviewed a Tamil writer long ago. That is why he calls him and finds out from there that Ursavan is still alive. And his name is actually something else. Jasmine also gets his address. Meanwhile, in the hostel, he secretly steals the key of room number 103 from the warden's office and enters that room. And as soon as he enters, the door closes on its own. Magiz then sees himself hanging in front of his eyes. That is, he can see his own death. He starts screaming for his mother to save him. But the sound of his screams does not reach outside the room. That is why he once threw his phone at a student outside. And after that, that student comes and opens the door. Then Magiz sees Jasmine's message and they decide to go to Ursavan's house the next day. So the day after Sinchalda, the Magiz reached Urjavan's house. But as soon as they heard the name of Banidhara, Urjavan did not want to talk to them. However, they tried to explain that strange things were happening in the hostel. For that, they would have to know the rest of the story in the book. After that, Urjavan started telling the story. After Malli's death, the villagers had built a samadhi there. And Kalambali had gone to live in the forest alone. He used to come to the village only on Purnima. That was mainly to have darshan of Pali Devi. Meanwhile, the police's prayers had ended after 3 days. So they came again to evacuate the village. Even some people from the village were helping them. They beat the people here along with the police and forcibly occupied their land. That is, they evicted them from here in a way. That is why most of the people left the village. But there were some people who believed in Malli right away. They did not want to leave the forest. So they did it once. And this art college was built in that place where Magiz is studying now. Urjavan also says that many people started dying in that place. After a few days, Banidhara himself fell ill. However, he wanted to spend his last days in that college. But even that wish was not fulfilled. In the meantime, he died. Then Magiz and Jasmine came from there. Now they also understand that only Urshaban and Karamboli are alive in this story. Magiz returned to the hostel and searched for his friend Aj. But no trace of Aj could be found. And here we come to know one thing, that the old man they had been seeing repeatedly from the beginning was actually Karambali, the brother of a certain Malli. Meanwhile, Aj was seen in the sculpture room. Just then, a strange thing happened to him. While making a sculpture, Aj was suddenly trying to cut his own throat with the tool used to make a sculpture. However, he saves him in the meantime. But in this, during the scuffle, Aj's head hit the table and he passed out. Aj was quickly admitted to the hospital. After knowing everything, the principal scolded Magiz. Because he had said that if he changed the room, these incidents would end. That did not happen. Magiz then told the principal and the warden the whole story of Banidhara. He even told that there is definitely some link between this incident and the suicide of the students. Therefore, Magiz went to the forest the next day to look for Karmapalika. He even found her. Magiz asked him how to stop these incidents. Karmavala then says that his friend died because they had desecrated that place. Because that place was Malli's tomb. And this college was built on that tomb. Actually room number 103 is Malli's tomb. He also says that until Malli kills the landlord, i.e. Bonnie's Paranjanma, this will continue until he is killed. It will never end. On the other hand, we see a man entering the house of USB Ban. He was basically looking for something in the house. And that was basically that mirror, which was with us sister. And when he removes the cloth of the mirror, we also see end. No one is the principal of that college. And that is basically the reincarnation of Banidhara. And this whole incident is seen by Urchin from outside. He tries to escape. But the principal stops him. And even holds his throat with his own foot. At one point he even kills him. Meanwhile, his grandson, whom he was repeatedly calling, on the other hand, he was watching some strange video. So Magiz, after learning about that incident, tells the principal what Karmavala told him. That they have to find Malli's reincarnation first. Otherwise, this incident will continue. Then at night, Magiz suddenly remembers that Jasmine has a tattoo on her hand, which means rebirth, death, and birth. Then Magiz thinks that Jasmine might be the reincarnation of Malli. And with this guess, Magiz tells the principal about it, which was a huge mistake on her part. The principal is also seen looking at his statue. He is very happy, because the wish he had has been fulfilled. He wanted his name to live on for ages. So then he takes Jasmine to the principal's house. They think that Jasmine might be the reincarnation of Malli. So the principal takes Jasmine to another room. He even asks her to consult so that she can remember her previous birth. Meanwhile, Magiz sees a butterfly outside. That's why he was knocking on the door. But the principal is not opening the door for anything. The butterfly then took Magiz upstairs, where all the art and antiques of Banidhara were kept. And that's strange. Mirror was also there. Meanwhile, Jasmine was seen unconscious. The principal thought that if she was really the reincarnation of Malli, then she should have remembered by now. And then when the Magiz above removes the cloth of the mirror, what we see is not really Malli's reincarnation, is not Jasmine, but Magiz herself. Because that principal once said that in reincarnation she can be anything. It can be a boy, a girl, or even an animal. That is why Magiz was reincarnated as Malli. Again, it is understood from this that because from the beginning she loved animals very much, she had a deep relationship with nature. In between, the principal comes. The principal understands that Magiz is the reincarnation of Malli. And Magic also understands that the principal is actually Banidhara. That's why the principal starts beating Magiz. And in the mirror we see that Banidhara is beating Malli. And as it goes on, at some point, Malli's memories come to Magiz. That's why he attacks the principal. Because in his previous life, when he died, he was a woman and she was pregnant. He couldn't handle Banidhara. But in this life, he is a strong man. So in the end, he kills the principal with his own sword. Which we also see in the mirror. That Malli's soul is very happy at that time. Because finally he could take revenge on her. Then Magiz comes out of there. Jasmine has also regained consciousness by now. That's when Magiz's friend calls Jasmine and tells her that AJ has regained consciousness. That means everything is fine now. To put it simply, there will be no more suicides from now on. However, towards the end of the movie, we see Malli in the jungle. In a way, we can say that Malli is a magician. She is very happy now. Because this jungle is also alive. And this entire college has also been freed from the hands of a monster. With this, the movie basically ends. Finally, this whole thing is a fictional story. Although the movie is nothing special, it can be watched for one-time entertainment. From that point of view, I liked the movie. So, definitely let me know how you liked it in the comments. And if you like the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in another movie or series explanation video. Until then, stay well and healthy. Allah Hafez.